Welcome to the Capital Coffee Connection podcast. I'm Liz Hirsh Naftali, and we are in season 2. And I am really excited today because I have an amazing congressperson. And what I try to do on this podcast is to talk with our leaders about their heart and humanity, but not about politics and policy. So when you listen, you don't really know if this person is a Dem or a Republican, rather that they're a public servant that are trying to do good for you and for all of us in our country. My guest today has a quote, and it says, "To compromise, 80% of something is better than 100% of nothing," which really says it all about the thought that goes behind Congressman Josh Gottheimer, New Jersey's 5th Congressional District. And I just want to say one of the things before I met him that I had heard his name over and over again was that he was a founder of the Problem Solvers Caucus, which was getting Democrats and Republicans to work together. So while we're not here to talk about politics and policy, at the end of the day, we are here to talk about how our leaders can really work together and find more that brings them together than what separates them. So Josh Gottheimer, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Liz, great to see you. Thank you for doing this. I'm glad you finally invited me. I had to fight for an invitation here.
Josh, it's a long list. So you're in company with many amazing leaders. So thank you for being here. And I was thinking, Josh, we met through our common friend Victor. And I remember Victor, I was going and looking for help with this crisis where my great niece was taken as a hostage. And I was looking in Gaza, and I was looking for leadership in America to talk with. And Victor said, "Do you know Josh Gottheimer?" And I said, "No, I don't. I know the name." And he said, "Come, we're going to have drinks with him." And we met up by the Capitol. And I remember we were talking, and this is how I knew that I liked you. Because not only were you there to help, but your daughter called you in the middle and she said, "Dad, I need help with homework." And you said, "Excuse me, I'm going to go help my daughter for 5 minutes." And then you came back. And I thought, okay, this guy gets it. He's got a balance, juggle between being a dad and being a leader. So that is how we met. And I just want to say thank you, because since then you have been an ally and a friend and just a great person to speak with, one, to help get these hostages back, but also just to really talk about, for Jews, what it means to be Jewish right now and the struggles that we are having in America, but really on a greater level, what it means to just be a good human and take care of each other. So thank you.
Thanks, Liz. We spent a lot of time talking, so it's good.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for our friendship.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to just go back to that. You are a New Jersey native. You are from New Jersey. You lead in New Jersey. What's special about New Jersey?
I mean, I'm mildly obsessed with New Jersey. I'll come clean. Some people love where they're from, others not so much. I love where I'm from. I'm 5th generation or something like that, 4th generation, 5th generation. And my great grandparents came to Jersey, initially to Newark and Linden. It's one of these places we've now families lived all over the state, but it's I love the people. People are just great. They come from all over the place, all different backgrounds. Everyone is kind of scrappy and proud of Jersey. We're a little bit, you mess with Jersey, you mess with all of us. Very proud. And, it's we got great schools, great food, great beaches and lakes. We've got Springsteen. So we've got kind of all the natural resources that anybody could ask for. And it's just, it's home. And the key is that I got my wife to move from New York to New Jersey. That I think is like my greatest coup, so that I could raise my kids and say my daughter's a Jersey girl. That was a big deal for me.
I heard from Phil Murphy that New Jersey was rated the best state to raise a family.
I on your podcast you just had Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly not even a close call. I don't know why you'd want to be anywhere else, frankly. The only thing we got to do is make it a little more affordable, which I'm obsessed with, getting our taxes and costs down. But we just, there's really, the schools are top shelf and people are very proud of that. We've got great cops and firefighters and we look out for each other. I like to call them Jersey values. People in DC look at me, they're like, Jersey, they make fun of me. They're like, Jersey values. It's on my lawn signs, by the way, for my campaign. It says lower taxes, Jersey values. And so I have a lot of colleagues who walk by, including Akeem Jeffries, and he's always like, Jersey values.
But you know what? that's really what this is about, the values. And when I think about you, I was thinking about like adjectives, because how do we like sometimes break it down for people to get to know our leaders, that they're not just cutouts. And you are somebody that is very value driven. You're resilient, and you also are just kind and sincere, and all those things. Sometimes people can't believe that our leaders can possess those characteristics, because you get 2 or 3 minutes on a news show and you're just out there to really fight for whatever it is you believe in.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of values, because I think that if we can all go back to our values and remember what unites us, and you said it, like New Jersey's diverse, but if you have the same values, you can be proud of who you are and proud of your state.
Correct.
It's what I hope to be able to share with others. So thank you.
It's kind of interesting to that point. I as you mentioned before, I helped start this group called the Problem Solvers Caucus.
Yeah.
It's now got 32 Democrats and 32 Republicans. When we get together and try to figure out where we agree, which in modern day politics people think is nuts, right? What do you mean you talk and get together and try to figure out where you agree? And we've kind of been involved in all the major legislative deals over the last 7-8 years. And the way you do it really is you got to get to know one another, right? It's getting past, to your point, the 1 minute soundbite or the 15-second soundbite, and actually spending time with each other. And listen, we disagree plenty, but the question is, can you find those places where you can build a relationship and really get to know one another? And that's how you get a deal done, because you kind of can trust each other and understand each other.
It goes back to, I think, your first quote, which is, you can compromise or you can have nothing. And compromise and getting something is important. And that's why you're there. That is why you are a leader.
Right, to get stuff done.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say to people, like, it's nice if you tweet a lot, and that's great. And by the way, there's plenty of members who have more followers than me on X, and I get it. But I don't look at my job as measuring it by how many followers I have. I look at it and say, like, well, what legislative things did I get done to help the people I represent in Jersey, right? Like, that is to me what the Constitution says you send us there for. It's to do stuff and to fight hard, fight hard for the people you represent, get in there, get stuff done, and then go home.
Talk about home a second. I know that you probably married up, because I know you.
Definitely married up.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have
Definitely.
2 kids. And what is it like because I know that in the town Tenafly where you are living now, it's like small town America in many ways. How do you balance between being a leader, coming home, and sometimes just being in your area of New Jersey and raising your kids? How do you balance it all, and what is it like?
Well, I appreciate that you recognize that my number one priority is my kids. Yeah, I have this job, so I'll say my second priority is everybody else I work for. But at the end of the day, my family is the most important thing for me. And it's my kids, including my wife, have to put up with a lot with these jobs. It's a lot to ask of them too, right? They're, when we go out, people want to talk about what's going on in the country or the world. And my job is to make sure I'm responsive to people and talk to them. So that puts a lot on them. My kids are amazing. I've got a sophomore in high school and who just came home, who was upset with some test she had today, and just called me. We were working on it last night together. I was doing my work. She was doing her work. We're both like sitting at the counter.
Yeah.
And I heard her like practice, she's working on some history. And I was like, wait a second, are you sure that's right? I popped in. She's like, Dad, stop pretending like you know all the history. And my 7th grade boy is great. And it's great. My wife, she is, I definitely married up big time. She's a lawyer, very smart and accomplished, and somehow does it all. I call her like Wonder Woman. She somehow works outside the home, manages a lot of the stuff that happens here when I'm in Washington. I don't know, makes it all work and somehow makes it seem effortless, which I can't really figure out how she does it, but I don't know.
Because she's
pretty amazing.
Wonder Woman, which is amazing.
Woman.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were growing up in Jersey, did you have a teacher that still to this day you think back mentored you or supported you?
Like, I have a few teachers who I definitely would not have made it this far where I am today without them. There's a teacher who's since passed named Richard Hockman. I had him in 7th grade, and I think he ended up subbing in for part of my 8th grade year because from another teacher. And he would taught us about issues like politics. And he was amazing. He was this incredibly energetic guy, and he would run from one side of the room to the left side, and he would pretend to be a Democrat, and he would take the issue, and then he would act it out as if he was the Democrat. Like, I'm for this, this, and this. He'd run as hard as he could to the other side of the room, and then he'd say the right position. Then he'd run to the middle and kind of say the middle position. And that's how I really got to know issues and got into it. I had another couple teachers, Richard Clark and this woman, Josette Boehm, who were really taught me how to write and were very into making sure that we could write. This other guy, Bob Caruso, they all were into making sure, because reading and writing well to me is like a lost art that is, I think, really, really important.
And you were a speechwriter for President Clinton back in the day when you were 12 years old. So it was important that you had that.
I ended up being a speechwriter, but yeah, I know, I think it's pretty amazing. I think of all these people who had such a profound impact on me, and I've tried to call all of them, by the way. Some of them are alive and some are not, to say thank you, because I think they should know that they played a big role in whatever my career is.
Well, you're a mensch, and I can imagine you calling, and I believe it's also the simple part of just calling somebody and saying thank you, that's huge. It's not that hard to do, but it's huge what it does.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I worked for, as you mentioned, for President Clinton. And when I was young, I was a speechwriter when I was young, really young. And I never forget 1 minute, who gave me my start in my career. Right. He made the bet on me. He made a bet because I was definitely pretty young for the job I had. And so I'll never forget what he did for me and helped me. It was tough. I worked incredibly hard, but he didn't have to do that for me. And so I never forget who did these things for me along the way.
What is the best advice you've ever received? The worst? Some people say it's the same. Or what is the advice you give to young people now in your position?
Well, so the best advice I got, my dad gave me really good advice I remember when I was young. He said, no matter what you choose to do with your life, you got to love what you do, or be passionate about it. And if you're not passionate about it, you'll never be successful. Right? No matter what it is you choose, you just got to be passionate about it. Because if you're not, you'll never achieve that level of success. I think I was deciding at some point whether I wanted to be like a consultant or whether to go into politics. And, and I remember him saying that to me, you'll be fine, but you'll never be great if you're not passionate about it. The worst advice I got, people will tell you can't do stuff, or that's impossible. I remember when I first got to Washington, and people said, well, you'll never be able to get people to talk to each other and get anything done. Then we got the infrastructure bill done in bipartisan way. I got a gun safety bill done bipartisan, which no one thought would be possible. I expanded the child tax credit. I led to help negotiate during the pandemic. And people will just tell you can't do it. What are you talking about? They'll never talk to you. By the way, including leaders of my party. They'll never talk to you. They'll lie to you. I'm like, no, that's not how this works when we do deals together. Yeah. That was a very big, that's always I just thought that was bad advice. And people should do that. I also tell good advice. I always tell young people, when I first started as a speechwriter, I was a writer / assistant and our chief of staff kind of job. And I always said I'm going to work as hard writing the speech as I am at getting my boss's dry cleaning. Be as good, the small stuff matters.
Yeah.
And that coffee better be good and hot. Yeah. And they'll notice, don't be entitled about it all. And I find that I thought that was great advice that I got once, and stay in touch with people. Very important.
No, I think they're all important. And again, it goes back to connectivity and community. And, I was thinking the other day, somebody said something, and our communities, if everyone was the same in our communities, it wouldn't be a community. It is that people are different and that you reach across and that you talk to others that actually makes you a part of a community. And, I feel like right now, especially, and I know you're doing a lot of work in the world of anti-Semitism, because it's really, anti-Semitism is rampant, but anti-isms are rampant. And I think that the more we can have these conversations and really kind of give people a different direction of positive way to look at our connectivity, I think it will help in that fight. That's how I'm seeing this right now. And that's about
Cool.
reaching across and having tough conversations that somebody said, no, don't do it. And you thought, you know what? Yes, I'm going to. And I know you work out in the gym with Republicans and you're friends with Republicans. And that's how it's supposed to be. You can go and have battle on the floor of the Congress, but then you're supposed to also break bread and work out together and know that you worked as hard as you could to get to a better solution or resolution for the people.
Yeah, listen, it's amazing. Some of my closest friends are from the other side. I've got, and one of my closest friends is the senator from Oklahoma. This guy Mark Wayne Mullen, who I disagree with on a lot. Right? You'd find it'd be hard pressed to find a lot of policies where we disagree. Although we worked together last year and helped get the foreign aid package done. We found a deal together. We worked on it for months, and we were able to get a deal. He actually got Trump on board for money for Ukraine and Israel. In Taiwan, I was able to help move some stuff for the administration. Well, anyway, we got this deal done. Listen, I think Mark Wayne, I always tell him, and I say this to his face, like, the guy shouldn't be a dog catcher. Like, at best, I was telling him that, like, give me a break. But I love the guy. I know his family well. We work out together in the mornings, but we disagree on a ton.
That's how our world should be. So
no, we got a great relationship. Like, and we give each other.
The question is, who's in better shape? Josh, bottom line, who's in better shape?
He was an MMA fighter. The guy's insane. I will never on any recording ever claim that I'm stronger than him, because he'll then crush me even more in the next workout.
I love it.
But yeah, no, but he's in insane shape.
Okay, now we're going to get to rapid questions. So, answer how you wish. They should be pretty easy for you. Favorite sound?
Definitely when I hear my kids' voices when I get home.
Favorite color?
By far, blue.
What's that?
I said by far. I love hearing my kids like blue. Oh, yeah. By the way, my dogs leave like when the dog, and I know the dog's home too, because that means someone's going to come home and like be happy to see me.
The dog or the kids? That's the question.
Exactly. The dog definitely. The kids most of the time. Blue is my favorite color.
Okay. Favorite scent?
Oh, Jersey Shore, like the salt air.
Mm.
Love that. Yeah. Getting on the shore, like it's the best. From the ocean.
Yeah. Who is your biggest cheerleader?
My mom of blessed memory was always my biggest cheerleader. I could do no wrong with my mom. Yeah. I miss that. My sister is like slightly taking over that role. Of course, my wife, but my sister also has been an amazing cheerleader for me. Yeah.
I love that. What are your favorite sports teams?
Yankees, Giants, Devils.
You have dogs, so I'm assuming you're a dog person or you're a cat person or both?
Dog, Rosalita.
What kind is Rosalita?
Golden Doodle.
What is your favorite meal?
I think I'd say like Sunday night Chinese food.
Wow.
And like a really good chicken noodle soup. Also, like is really, if it's homemade, and good matzo ball soup. I like, since we just had matzo balls the other night.
What is your favorite dessert?
I'm not a big dessert guy. So my favorite dessert, I think I would say, probably like chocolate ice cream.
Favorite music. So if you're working out, what do you listen to?
Oh, I mean, that varies depending on the mood I'm in. So I listen to a lot of Springsteen. I then have like a lot of, I grew up in the late, my music time, like the 80s, 90s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love like old classic stuff. I love. And, but I mean, Springsteen's always like a go-to for me.
Well, he's a natural resource of New Jersey too. So that's also,
how are you not, how do you not love Springsteen?
Yeah,
I also, by the way, I like a little Billy Joel too.
Books. Do you have time to read?
Yes. I read a lot of biographies.
What's one biography you read recently that stands out?
I just reread Long Walk to Freedom, Mandela's book. Mandela, which is, I think, one of the most powerful books. I love, like, I could read any book on, like, any autobiography of any president. I'm just trying to think. I hadn't read McCullough's book on Truman since, like, I think it first came out, and I read that on my last vacation. I'm trying to get through Taylor Branch's last on the King. His King books. I'm still on the last one. I just read another great book on Johnson.
Wow.
But I love reading about presidents. I just find you can learn so much. It gives you like American history. Plus, there's a lot of personality. You
Yeah.
like learn about politics. You can like learn something about like, well, how did they get that? I'm always trying to figure out like, well, how did they get that done? Like, what was the magic?
Right.
Like, and how'd they figure that out? So,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. And then I read a lot of books these days about, I do read a lot of stuff like on Israel and like that come up. I don't know. I tend to I read like I watch TV. I change a lot of channels. So I have like a stack of books
Josh,
on my
just knowing
Kindle.
you, I can imagine that you are constantly moving and constantly changing and going back and forth. And
Does it sound ridiculous? Like way to it's like a ridiculous way to read. I like change the channel and then I grab another book and I'm like, I'll read 50 pages of that book and then the next night, like the next time I'll. I know that's an insane way to read, but
but it
it's like
works for you. But it works for you. Like
it
everyone does
works.
their own thing.
It works.
Okay, in the midst of all that, do you have a favorite household chore?
Favorite household chore? Yeah, I really like washing dishes.
Okay.
I find that to be well. First of all, like I'm usually assigned that, um, but but my wife says that I can't. I'm terrible about organizing the dishwasher properly.
Oh, I know. I would say that too because you don't put things in properly.
Like I don't like I want to go fast and see how fast I can get the chore done. So like I then don't organize, and my spatial relations aren't always the best.
I
So I'm
got
not always great about putting it where they belong. So I do. My wife is always like, "What did you do here?" And I'm like, "I cleaned them." She's like, "But you could have gotten 2x more into the washer." But yeah, but no, I like washing the dishes after dinner.
It's something to work on. It's something to, keep working to get better
Exactly.
and
But I also like
organized.
getting ready for the morning. I don't know if you like this. I like putting everything out. Like after everyone's in bed. My two favorite times are like late at night when everyone's asleep and getting them placemats out and the coffee ready and all that kind of stuff. So you're ready in
Yeah,
the morning.
yeah.
So you walk in and it's like all ready. And I really like early mornings. I get up really early because I find I get a lot of work done early in the morning and it's peaceful and quiet.
Yes.
You can have a cup of coffee and it's great. And you can just like get stuff done. And then like the kids come down and, we're rocking and rolling. But I like that time of day as well.
Yeah. But you notice that you basically just left yourself very little time to sleep between being up late, getting up early, which I totally appreciate. And then the part you just left out was that you probably sleep like 4 hours a night.
I'm not great at sleeping, although I'm getting much better because it's really bad for you not to sleep a lot.
Exactly.
I'm working on that. I keep adding more sleep time into my
Good.
schedule
Good.
because it's very important.
It's really important and it's healthy and it's the right thing to do and it's something to work towards. Sometimes there's things in life that are just perpetual goals that you keep working towards. You don't necessarily get there, but you keep trying.
True.
My last question is, and you've already said it, and I mean, I think like my question is, what is your superpower? And I just think yours is kind of you're a mensch. You're just a
Yeah,
good
thank
guy.
you.
What do
Thanks,
you
Liz.
think your superpower? Usually I don't tell people what I think their superpowers are, but I feel like I know you well enough, and I just feel like that's your mensch. You're a mensch.
I don't know what my superpower is. I think my superpower is never giving up.
Yeah.
Like I'm just I'm an optimist. So I think that's actually, if I say like the one thing that I really believe is important, it's just because the last 550 plus days, especially, have been tough to be optimistic. But you kind of have to, especially for what I do, you got to stay optimistic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's really really hard if you don't wake up positive.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be optimistic and
Yeah.
not watch too much cable news.
That's the thing I say about this show is like people that are frustrated by cable news, turn it off, watch 30 minutes and just be inspired by kindness and thoughtfulness and hearing that our leaders are good people.
I'm glad you do this because that's very important.
Yeah.
People just get what they get from cable news, and that's an entertainment entity. That's not meant really to give you facts.
Yes.
It's really
Or to
meant
give
to
you
get
good
you to
feelings.
or to give you good feelings. They don't focus on a lot of positive stuff,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that frustrates me about the news.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they actually talk about the good things going on?
Well, that's what we do here. And the last question I have, which I really think is the most important, is what is your definition or what do you think joy means? What brings you joy and how do you share that joy?
I think what brings, I mean, I know it brings me, I mean, and maybe everybody says this, but my family brings me great joy. Like, and I, and I think everyone has a way, I don't know how you share that except to say, I'm always working on spending more time smelling the roses. That's my lifelong goal.
Yeah.
And so but I know at the end of the day, everything else is kind of coffee talk, to use your name of your show.
Yes.
Everything else is coffee talk. If you don't have good family and friends and spend time on it, and there are a lot of distractions. And so I think the key is, for me, it's that spending time and realizing that it's limited, right? You only get one shot at this, and don't blow that deal. Listen, this is like where I'm always working to make it better.
I'm going to end on that. Let's all keep working to make it better, right? And
Yeah.
do it with a smile and smell the roses and make sure that the coffee is ready so that when you wake up in the morning, you have that cup of coffee and you start your beautiful day.
It's all about the coffee.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Hi, it's Liz. Please join me every Tuesday for coffee to talk about heart and humanity with our elected leaders. Remember to hit subscribe to get an alert when a new episode is live and for exclusive content. Ciao.